Exposure is a fundamental concept in photography and cinematography, defining how much light reaches your camera sensor. Achieving the correct exposure is crucial for capturing images with the desired brightness, contrast, and detail. This involves balancing three key elements: aperture, shutter speed, and light quantity, collectively known as the exposure triangle. Today, we're going to focus specifically on aperture, one of the most critical components of exposure.
If you speak a word of what I'm about to show you, you will be executed for high treason.
Understanding how aperture works will give you greater control over your images, allowing you to manipulate light and depth of field to achieve your creative vision. Aperture refers to the opening in a lens through which light passes to enter the camera. The size of the aperture is measured in f-stops, such as f2.8, f4, f8, or f16. These numbers represent the ratio of the lens's focal length to the diameter of the aperture opening, determining the amount of light that reaches the sensor and influencing the depth of field. A lower f-stop number, like f2.8, means a wider aperture that lets in more light and creates a shallow depth of field, blurring the background. In contrast, a higher f-stop number, like f16, means a smaller aperture, allowing less light and increasing depth of field, keeping more of the scene in focus. While aperture controls the amount of light and depth of field, it also affects diffraction. Diffraction occurs when light waves pass through a small opening, causing them to bend and spread out. This bending leads to interference, creating a pattern of light and dark rings known as an airy disk, which can reduce the sharpness of your image. The size of the airy disk depends on the wavelength of light and the aperture size. As the aperture gets smaller, the airy disk becomes larger, which can cause fine details to blur. Understanding diffraction is crucial when considering sensor resolution. Modern digital cameras often have high-resolution sensors with very small photo sites. If the airy disk is larger than the size of a single pixel, the camera can't resolve fine details effectively, leading to a decrease in image sharpness. If you're interested in learning more about the technical details and calculations related to diffraction and its impact on image sharpness, we cover this in depth in our ebook, Mastering Exposure, Chapter 1, The Aperture.
Here's my card.
In addition to diffraction, another optical issue to be aware of is chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration occurs when a lens fails to focus all colors of light at the same point, resulting in color fringing around the edges of objects. This effect is more noticeable at wider apertures because the light rays bend at different angles, causing different wavelengths to spread out unevenly. To achieve the best image quality, it's often recommended to use the sweet spot of your lens, typically between f5.6 and f8. This range usually provides the best balance of depth of field, sharpness, and reduced optical issues like diffraction and chromatic aberrations. Choosing the right aperture setting should not only be influenced by the need to achieve correct exposure, but also by the creative and narrative choices in your scene. For example, a wide aperture with a shallow depth of field can be used to isolate a subject and direct the audience's attention to a specific element or character in a scene. This approach emphasizes the subject by making it stand out against a blurred background, allowing the audience to focus solely on the subject's emotions and internal experience. The background becomes less relevant, helping to convey a sense of isolation or introspection. On the other hand, a narrow aperture with a deep depth of field is ideal for capturing scenes where the entire environment is important to the story. Using a deep depth of field ensures that all elements in the scene, from the foreground to the background, remain sharp and clear. This approach is beneficial for storytelling when you want to highlight the setting's details and grandeur, allowing the viewer to fully appreciate the context and scope of the scene. In such cases, maintaining focus throughout the image adds to the visual storytelling and enhances the overall impact of the narrative. By understanding how aperture and other factors affect your images, you can make informed decisions that enhance your creative vision. Each choice impacts the story you want to tell and the emotion you want to convey through your visuals. We hope this video has provided valuable insights into the role of aperture in exposure. For more detailed information on this and many other topics, be sure to check out our series of ebooks. Our guides are designed to help you understand and master various elements of photography and cinematography, from the basics to more advanced techniques.